Yo, what's going on, patrons? Welcome back to FPTXXX, your extra dose of FPT, the show that gives you all the latest tech news from one geek that is me to another that is you. Before we start today, number one, thank you again for your support, and number two, just a bit of an update. So in the last episode, we asked you like where you wanted us to put comments or allow for comments. So I think based on your feedback, what we're gonna do is just have comments like on the Patreon page, because that's where you guys are paying, that's where the community here is. So we're gonna disable comments on the YouTube watch page, and if you have anything to say, you want to comment, carry on a discussion, let's do it on Patreon. I think that's the best thing for us. And if you have not done this yet, to make it easier, go ahead and download the Patreon app on your iOS device or Android device, whichever you got. That'll make sure you get notifications when we post new stuff, and of course, just make it easier to watch stuff on your phone. Now, if you guys have any ideas, any suggestions, anything that you would like to see here, since you sort of have a direct connection to us now, go ahead and let us know. Also, here we'll see all of your suggestions, and maybe we'll start implementing some of them. Just trying to give you the best value. Okay, news. Alright, so story number one for the day. A lot of people asking me about my opinions, my thoughts on the OnePlus 7 Pro. I think it's really, really great. I'm very impressed. I love OnePlus personally as a company. I've had their phones before. I love them, but it seems we have a motherfucking problem. So some users are stating that their OnePlus 7 Pro is responding to touches when they didn't touch the phone. That's right, we got some ghost touches happening with the OnePlus 7 Pro. In fact, here's a video clip that we grabbed from YouTube of this exact thing happening. As you can see, the phone just starts to do whatever the fuck it wants. That dude is not touching it, and it does not care. Now, Android Central has also come out and said that they were able to replicate this exact issue. They said, it's only happened a couple of times in my 4 days with the handset so far. The first time in WhatsApp for about 5 seconds, not a big deal. The second time it happened, it lasted about 2 minutes and was affecting every app I was in, including the home screen. Now, I know with that pretty much edge-to-edge display, people were worried how the OnePlus 7 Pro would respond to touches, like if you accidentally touch the side of the display, like if it was going to be able to know and reject those sort of touches, but apparently that's not even an issue. That's not the real issue here. You got to worry about you not touching it at all and it responding to touches. See, I get how this could, just a tiny issue, just happens sometimes, but it only takes like just a few seconds to send the wrong thing to the wrong person. You know what I mean? Alright, next up I want to talk about some YouTube related stuff, and I guess typically I probably wouldn't talk about this sort of thing on the main show on YouTube. There's just a bunch of stuff that I'm interested in that I can't talk about on Front Page Tech on YouTube because the audience just doesn't care. But here, you care more about me? I want to talk about stuff that I care about. So you may or may not have heard this, but YouTube is actually changing the way it displays subscriber counts on the website, on the app, basically everywhere. So instead of showing an exact subscriber number, like an exact subscriber count, let's say like 10,500,000 subscribers, that would instead just display as 10 million. That's it. Now, we sort of already have something like this. Like, okay, if you're on your mobile device and you're watching a video, the channel under that video has an abbreviated subscriber number. If you expand the title and description under that video, you will and can see that full subscriber number. But YouTube, I guess, is just going to do this all the way around for the sake of consistency. That's what they're saying. But I say that's a bunch of horse shit. It's looking more and more like this is a response to like live subscriber count numbers like being displayed in live streams, people paying attention to that sort of thing. Cancel culture, a YouTuber fucking up and then everyone go, I'm unsubscribing, yeah! And everyone watching that number just fucking tumble down. Like people get really invested in this sort of thing. We just saw that, right, with PewDiePie and T-Series. Like people were having live streams, massive live streams of literally just the subscriber numbers displayed side by side so you can see them sort of race. Like if this was truly about consistency like YouTube is stating, then we would just see this sort of number like site-wide, the abbreviated subscriber number across the site, on the app, on the desktop, on channel pages, on watch pages, we would see that abbreviated number. That's what the viewer would see, and creators would still have more options. But it's actually going further than that. So this is actually changing YouTube's API services as well, so that watered down abbreviated subscriber number is also what third-party services will get through YouTube's API. So sites like Social Blade will be hugely affected by this. And when I say hugely affected by this, I mean, like, what would be the point of Social Blade then? Like, now creators are even stepping up for Social Blade using the hashtag #SaveSocialBlade, because this would kill them. It just would ruin it. Now, YouTube is making this change in August. I hope something gets figured out before then. It just doesn't make sense to me. Because now critical statistic websites like Social Blade wouldn't have the proper data. They wouldn't have full subscriber numbers, growth numbers. They just wouldn't get the data, so they couldn't display it. I think a change like this makes sense, like abbreviating subscriber numbers. That makes sense from a viewer perspective, but when it comes to creators, this isn't helping any of us. Like, if you're running a business, if you are a creator like us, those statistics really matter. Being able to see patterns and growth like that, like the actual raw real numbers, that matters. And it's a real shame if that goes away. Like, that takes a lot away from us. And then the only thing that we have, I guess, to depend on is YouTube. But on the analytical side of things, YouTube doesn't offer everything. Like, I'm used to using a lot of third-party services to measure analytics and stuff like that, and that would just go away. Like, those services just wouldn't have the data they need. I wouldn't have the data I need, and it's kind of fucking dumb for YouTube. They want to change this, and that makes sense for the viewer side, but to just go all out and take that information away from us, the creators, as well, that's fucked up, and I hope they change it. All right, so next up, we got a couple reports for iPhones next year in 2020. And honestly, they're not bad. They're both, they are both good things. That's what I was trying to say. Okay, so a couple things according to this report. Number one, the iPhone 11s, or whatever they would call it, would feature an acoustic fingerprint reader inside, underneath the display. So pretty much what Samsung uses for their in-display fingerprint reader. This would effectively bring back TouchID. I would hope they call it TouchID, allowing people to go ahead and use their fingerprint as another way to biometrically unlock their device if they wanna. Like, even though Apple went all in on Face ID and this is the future, we don't need Touch ID. There was evidence suggesting and reports suggesting that they had tried to get Touch ID in the phone. They just couldn't do it in time. So now it makes total sense that they've figured it out. They've had time to figure it out, and it's coming back. So apparently Apple was not all in on Face ID. They wish they could have both. They just couldn't do both. Now, in 2020, the iPhone 11s, whatever, in-display fingerprint reader. I'm all about that. But also, according to that report, in 2020, we'll finally be getting that iPhone SE 2, which I would absolutely love to see. Apparently, that phone will feature the same main components on the inside as the iPhone 8, which I think that's fair. As long as the price point is fair, I think that's okay. Honestly, both of these things to me make total sense for Apple to be able to deliver in 2020. An iPhone with Touch ID returning back into the device, and an iPhone SE 2. Let us know what you guys think. Your opinions down in the comment section below. Would you even be interested in an iPhone SE 2? Personally, I don't think that's for this sort of demographic. Other demographics like average users, probably sell really well. All right, so last up, we used to do a segment in the show called Ask FPT. At the end of every episode of Front Page Tech, we would answer one question from the audience, but then the audience got too big, got too many questions, and we gave up on that. Now, obviously, we're dealing with a smaller number of people. It's more personal. It's just us as our special little club, and you guys are asking for these episodes, FPT Extra episodes, to be extra long. To be longer. So that's what we're gonna do. We posted a post on the Patreon page like a few hours ago asking for questions. If you guys have any questions and you want to be featured on an episode of FPT Extra, leave them down in the Patreon comments. Right now, though, we're gonna answer more than one. Typically, we'll just answer one, but we'll just run through a couple that you guys left earlier today. Question numero uno from Exquisite Corpse. Oh, what a name. Do you think Google could have had better success if they changed when they released their flagships? How do you think the change will affect their typical results? Listen, I don't think when they release things even matters. It matters more what they release. Their typical release of these flagships, these super expensive phones, like, That's not the market Google should be trying to hit. They're trying to pitch software, Google's vision for Android, what they believe Android should be, what it should feel like for you. And unfortunately, like, okay, so we got a Pixel for free, right? Google sent us that Pixel 3 for free last year. And it wasn't even worth free. The next day I went and bought an iPhone. The price doesn't determine the worth, the hardware doesn't determine the worth, the software does. And unfortunately, the software experience was really, really bad. If they want to succeed, they need to do more with what they did with the Pixel 3a and 3a XL. Pitch the software that way. They're trying to pitch the software, they're trying to make a point with what Android is supposed to be. They need to do that with better, more compromising hardware. Meet the consumer halfway. That Pixel 3a, the Pixel 3a and 3a XL, that's more in line with what I hope to see from Google in the future. Let's do another one from USP. When is Recycle Bin coming back? So honestly, we don't really know. We're working on that. We're trying to figure out the best way to deliver it. Who knows? It might come back just here exclusively for you guys. We're still working on details. From Keith Perry, what up, dude? He said, will you be adding more tiers with different perks? I'd probably add $5 for a bloopers reel of each episode. So right now, what we're doing here on FPT Extra on this Patreon page is experimental. We'll be changing a lot of things, trying new things with you, and taking a lot of your input. That's our plan right now. We may add more tiers in the future. We're definitely gonna take all of your ideas into consideration and see what we can do, especially for you guys who are paying here on this site. Right now, though, we're just gonna keep it as it is and just sort of go with the flow. From Aaron, he said, let's talk Batman. Okay, I can do that. What Batman has been your favorite so far? What did you think of Batfleck? Honestly, that whole situation to me is such a shame because Ben Affleck, Batfleck, is the best on-screen live-action Batman that I have ever seen. Unfortunately, he was just dealing with a bad script. Like, the writing for those movies was bad, but like, him, physically, being Batman, hell fucking yes. Best live-action Batman I've ever seen on screen. Writing was terrible. Batfleck, though? Oh, still love him. From Theo, he said, you are an intelligent guy and sometimes smart as well. Thank you. What is your take on the biggest question of them all? When will phone sales start to increase again? So I said this on FBT like a few episodes ago. Something like, the consumer market right now doesn't need innovation. So technology always needs innovation, right? That's how we move forward. But the average consumer market right now does not need innovation for smartphone sales to increase. They need compromise. They need these companies to meet them halfway. And when I say that, I mean just like it's not all about the specs and the prices, and we need to bring those prices down and just give people a good experience for a good price. That's what we need right now to increase sales. Smartphones are really, really good. They're lasting a really, really long time. There's rarely a good reason for an average person to upgrade their device every single year. We, right, the subscribers, you guys, me, us, this community, we need innovation, but the consumers need compromise. All right, guys, that is the show. If you liked that Ask FPT segment and you want to ask a question, you want to be featured on a future episode, go ahead and leave your questions down in the comments below on Patreon, and maybe we'll answer it. Maybe you'll be featured. That's it. We'll see you guys in the next episode.